All right, cool. So the future of aggregators in DeFi. So I think one of the themes that we've had at this conference is around just kind of like multi-chain. And really what it's about is that there is an increasing number of ecosystems, applications in those ecosystems that are all having some meaningful economic activity. In particular, decentralized exchanges, right? So on any given blockchain, you now have, literally hundreds of AMMs and different decentralized exchanges that are now all sources of liquidity. And the question for users is, how do you access this liquidity that is often fragmented? So on this panel, we have representation from all of the leading kind of DEX aggregators. I will let them introduce themselves. So Danny, you want to go first?
Yes. Should I introduce myself? Yeah. Okay, yeah. Hi, everyone. Great to be here. I'm Danny. I'm the data scientist with Xerex for a year and a few months now. Before that, I was also doing data work with Consensus. So right now with Xerex, we're doing on-chain data analysis, also product data analytics with Matcha, and all the multi-chain data as well. Thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Andra. I'm the growth lead at 1inch. I've been with the company for about 6 months, or I guess the project, right? It's not a company. We're the #1 aggregator in this space right now. We're the second biggest DeFi project by unique number of wallets interacting with our protocol. We are super excited to be here. We have lots of updates coming up this year and next year. Keep an eye out.
Cool. And Mounir?
Yes, hi everyone. I'm Mounir, joining you from Paris. I'm the founder of ParaSwap. It's been 2 years that the project has been running. I manage multiple parts of the system. I have a technical background, so I'm still involved also on the technical side, and very happy to join you guys.
Cool. So I think one high-level question I'll start with is, so as the world moves more multi-chain, what are different ways you're thinking about integrating all these different DEXs across all these different chains, L1s, L2s? What new challenges does that bring, and I guess new opportunities? I guess, Danny, I'll start with you.
Yeah. So as Xerex, we are definitely implementing this multi-chain strategy. We're now on 4 chains right now, Ethereum, BSC, Polygon, and Avalanche recently. We're aiming to expand the number as well soon. So I think the best thing we're seeing here with multi-chain strategy is that we're really trying to expand the user base by crossing the bridge, and also trying to cover with more, I would say, like newbie users who are really interested in DeFi, but really finding like Ethereum is kind of like, how to say, costly to actually play with, to experiment with. So I think multi-chain is right now really helping us to bridging like, the new user as well. We're actually seeing number on BSC recently that is like 5 times of MAU compared to Ethereum already. So yeah, it's definitely helping the user's perspective.
Great. On our end, we also support multi-chain, right? We're also on 4 networks at the moment. We're on Ethereum, Binance Smart Chain, Polygon, and Optimism. We are open to supporting any other chains that show significant traction, right? So we definitely want to onboard these new communities. We want to support them. We want to work with them. It's a very simple approach for us. We want to be the place with the deepest liquidity. So as soon as we support a network, we also make sure to integrate as many resources as possible on the DEX side. That's our approach. I think we'll continue to do that. Like I said, for the foreseeable future, we're going to launch some new networks soon. Yeah, that's it.
For us, it was very interesting because we were focused only on Ethereum for the majority of the time, and focused only on what we call DeFi users. Those are people who are already yield farming, doing liquidity mining, interacting with multiple protocols. And that was our focus, and our messaging was addressed only to these guys. And once we went for Polygon, it was completely different. We started to see a lot of retail come in, and that's made a transformation in our product, in our perspective, because we had to deal with these people, and also we had to change the way we perceive DeFi. That it's no longer just a degen game; it's also a big, now a big retail, I would say, platform or infrastructure that we have to deal with. So I think that's what multi-chain had brought to DeFi is it attracted a large number of retail that are here. And I think the challenges here is how can we deliver the same quality of products while still maintaining the same level of security. And that's not something easy to go from one chain to the other by keeping the same security guarantees and the same user experience. But I think other projects that are not necessarily aggregators are working on implementing those technologies that aggregators can integrate.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point. And I think a follow-up question is right now I think the user experience is very fragmented when you're using decentralized exchanges because, like we said, even if an aggregator is deployed on another chain, it can't access liquidity on a separate chain, right? So you can use a DEX aggregator on, say, Ethereum, but that doesn't allow you to buy and sell assets on, Binance Smart Chain or any of the other ones. So what do you think needs to happen in order to simplify this experience so that it's just simple, doesn't matter what chain a user's assets are stored on. If I'm holding ETH and I want to buy SOL, I can just do that through an aggregator quite easily.
Yeah, I think from two standpoints, from the user experience points, we definitely want to hide that like cross the bridge kind of experience and like you have to wait for a few days kind of thing. You may want to just point out like what wallet you want to go in and what wallet you want to go out for a user. That would be like a thing to work on for product. Another thing is that like how to actually move the liquidity cross-chain with efficiency. And I think that will be very largely actually helped by the market maker naturally. So like if we're working with a market maker with potentially like RFQ, request for quote system, the market maker, if they want to have like different strategy across different channel funnel, they're gonna hold funds in different chain, different platform, different centralized exchange, decentralized exchange. And whenever you request for a quote, they're gonna basically rebalance by their strategies. So that would be, I think, a thing in the back in the scene.
Yeah, I agree on the abstraction of as much as possible for the retail user, right? Many don't understand, that's why they're not entering the space. This trading on decentralized exchanges is cumbersome, and centralized exchanges make it so much easier for them, right? At 1inch, we think that cross-chain doesn't work quite yet, not with the current setups, right? Bridges are inefficient when it comes to aggregation. Our Pathfinder just wouldn't work as optimally as it does right now. So, cross-chain is just not the path that we see with the current state of technology. However, we do believe that we will appeal to traders that want to specialize in one chain, right? So for example, traders want to trade on Ethereum, they go to 1inch by default because that's where they get the best trades. Again, going back to the deepest liquidity. Those who want to trade on, maybe Matic, they would also come to 1inch as well. But if you're doing cross-chain, you would probably go somewhere else just because we don't support that from a user experience perspective quite well yet. So that's our take on it.
On our perspective, we see ourselves as mostly as an infrastructure providers, and other layers can build on top of. For instance, there's a project called the D-Bridge, and also maybe what Danny was touching upon, the project like Connect that use market makers. The idea is that this infrastructure components can use aggregators in order to create this abstraction. And maybe UIs can build on top of both in order to abstract the base layer or this asset layer, so that there is no DAI on Polygon, DAI on Ethereum, DAI on BSC. There is just DAI, and I buy DAI for Ethereum, and I have Ethereum. And then if I want to buy USDC, I just push another button. And this composition or this new kind of composability that we'll see, I think soon in the future, will help on creating this abstraction. It's a little bit complex on a technical point of view, but that's normal. And I think to get this massive, I would say, retail adoption, we need those components to work together and abstract these assets or this technical complexity that the user still has to deal with. And here we're talking obviously about the retail. If we talk about highly specialized users, it's more optimal that they will reason chain by chain. But for the higher public or the retail, this abstraction, I think, is a necessity.
Yeah, I guess thinking of abstraction and kind of bridges. So we spoke about bridges to other chains. How are you all thinking about almost bridges to the fiat economy? So making it more simple for people to directly onboard to decentralized exchanges rather than first having to go to a centralized exchange to get assets and then withdraw it so they can use a decentralized exchange. Just curious to hear different strategies you're employing.
Yeah, the strategy with Matcha, which is our end product for DEX traders, is that we actually offered this Fiat on-ramp feature actually back in June in Matcha 2.0 launch. So we're working with a team called MoonPay, where you can basically go through the KYC and then actually instantly top up your Fiat and then trade anything, any assets, one gate after the topping up. Yeah.
Same for us. We also have a Fiat on-ramp provider. We work with MoonPay for our web app. We work with Mercurio for our wallet. And we believe in actually supporting as many Fiat on-ramps as possible because they have different limits, different restrictions, different jurisdictions that they appeal to. So we definitely see a future where we don't support just one, but multiple ones. And you as a user get to choose which one makes most sense for you.
Yeah, I'm totally aligned with Dan and Andra about having the on-ramp, Fiat on-ramp being the entry points for users. And I think Fiat on-ramp have to always integrate aggregators in order to create a full process. So that's maybe other dApps that want to create an onboarding like a crypto service. They can just plug and play those on-ramps and they can have this fluid experience where they just need to push a credit card. And on the back end side, these on-ramps will, through aggregators, will enable deep liquidity for this guy. So that's, if I want to buy this new magic token that just appeared, I don't have to go through multiple steps. I can just put my credit card and I can buy it directly. And for the on-ramp to deal with aggregators in order to get this liquidity.
Gotcha. So I think we talked a lot about similar ways you're thinking about approaching DEX aggregation. What are some ways you're looking at to kind of differentiate as aggregators? Because it's very similar service. You use 1inch, ParaSwap, 0x. You basically just swap an asset, right? But what are different ways that I guess you all differ from each other, whether it be strategy, features, whatever it may be?
Yeah, I totally agree on the point that I think aggregators right now is already in the level how to say we're both doing the multi-hop, we're also doing the order limit a split, and also we're trying to save the gas every dime for the user. But for 0x, I believe we have this vision, keeping in mind as we're trying to build a kind of a tool that is friendly to both users and also developers. So I would say the major offering for 0x right now is the 0x API as a tool set where any team can integrate with this infra layer, and then they can basically source their customer or consumer side with the supply side we are offering. And then so it's friendly for anyone to onboard, and so we're basically trying to helping this flowing freely across different liquidity and funnels. Another part is we're really trying to think from the user perspective. For example, for Matcha, we're really trying to aiming for a smoother experience and user-friendly, newbie-friendly, and also potentially educational platform for anyone. So that would be, I guess, the differentiator.
Yeah, so I think for us, it's speed of execution that separates the 1inch team from the others in the market. We don't eat, we don't sleep. We're just aliens working around the clock. And that explains why we are able to integrate as many DEXs as we have and as many networks as we have, why we shipped a wallet and we had 80,000 users onboarded in a month. And yeah, I think that the team is definitely what separates us the most. The second is obviously strategy. We have a couple of different things we want to do as an aggregator. We're now going into a regulated direction, right? We're launching 1inch Pro. We want to actually embrace institutional flow. We think that that's where a lot of the action is happening, and we want to make sure that we're there, among the first. On the retail side, we also have, like I said, a wallet, which we want to put in the hands of every retail user in the world. There's a lot of work to be done, again, going back to abstraction and user experience, et cetera, et cetera. But it's the beginning of the journey, and we're really excited to ramp up all these projects.
Yeah, I think, obviously each project will be biased on saying what are the differentiating elements depending on the perspective they will be looking at the future. And I think what may differentiate us is the vision for the future. So right now it's all about features, depending also on the user base. For instance, I would say a matcha that's trying to be a pure retail app. That's something I think it's already very good. In our perspective, we try to be an infrastructure play. In our UI is a one way of distributing the technology. So we don't play the branding. We don't do the branding play per se. And I think for us, the future is building a fully decentralized infrastructure that will no longer need us to be operated as we do right now and as other aggregators do. But that's, again, we're talking about the future. Right now, if you're a DeFi degen, you will be looking at which one is giving you the best price. If you're a retail, you're looking at which one is giving you the best user experience. So I think those are the main differentiating elements on a user perspective. But yeah, the future will show, and I think aggregators will take different routes in the future.
Yeah. So how do we think about like the broader aggregator landscape and where DEX aggregators fit in? So, obviously we have just kind of like more broad-based aggregators that provide all different forms of wallet management, just different ways you can interact with different DeFi protocols. Ultimately, do DEX aggregators just become more broad-based aggregators, or are there different ways you can like partner with like some of these more broad-based aggregators? Will those aggregators end up implementing DEX aggregation as a feature? How do you kind of think about ways to collaborate or potentially compete with some of the other aggregators that maybe aren't doing DEX aggregation today but could be doing it tomorrow?
Yeah, I totally see that like the aggregation layer concept is like expanding like from vertically also horizontally. Like for example, like Uniswap recently also launched their router algorithm. Like they can route between different pools and different protocol version. And then a few months ago, like ParaSwap launched like the aggregator of aggregator. Like basically they're also like checking up like what's the price offered by different aggregator. And also like I would see the wallets, they're also basically aggregator of aggregator. Like basically, for example, like MetaMask is integrated with us, with 1inch, and then with ParaSwap. And then they're like just checking, who are giving the best price, and we're gonna routing the volume to the users. So I think that's definitely like a general and even broader idea right now, the aggregation, but it all comes from like the user standpoint, like trying to give a better price, I would say, yeah.
I completely agree with everything you just said. It's definitely an aggregate the aggregators type of game, right? And what does the future look like? Well, we also integrate some traditional market makers, right? So aside from decentralized exchanges, we have what we call PMMs that are integrated into our network. So we definitely see a bridge of not just DEXs but other liquidity providers as well. The aggregation concept is not new, right? Your traditional brokers and for the stock market, they already have aggregators that do the same thing that we do, but for the decentralized space. I guess the question is our algorithms better than theirs, right? So that's step one. And the second one would be, can they onboard as much liquidity as we have, as fast as we have, or at all, right? So does it make sense for them to try to build it on their own, or should they just partner with someone like 1inch or 0x or ParaSwap? And the answer is TBD, right? We're just now exploring these types of synergies, and hopefully we obviously hope that they would come to partner with us instead of trying to build their own.
Yeah, I think we've seen some wallets and some dApps who tried to build their own and ended up at the end integrating one or other aggregators or multiple aggregators, because I think it may seem, I would say, feasible for some product or some wallet to do this work themselves. But once inside, things look very different in terms of the, I would say, the intellectual part of designing and crafting highly scalable algorithms and highly scalable architecture, especially, but also, as Andra said, this speed of integration, this amount of liquidity, of amount of DEXs to integrate, it's very hard also to make, especially to make it at scale. So I think definitely I am seeing wallets in the futures and dApps going directly for aggregators and not even trying to do this work themselves. I don't think it's worth it. I don't think wallets are made to focus more on onboarding and creating the best user experience possible. So I think it's more rational to integrate an aggregator instead of doing this themselves.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. So I think one question I have is just how much aggregation gets done on chain versus off chain, right? So the order routing, is that done on chain or off chain, and how much can you actually put on chain moving forward, right? Like, is this something where your entire protocol can live on chain, or will there always be off chain components?
Yeah, so for Xerx, we're right now still pretty true to the statement of like basically off-chain relaying and then on-chain settlement. I would see like the liquidity can sit both on-chain and off-chain, and then so basically market makers funds or like RFQ system is basically off-chain, and then to be more efficiently move with the market, and so so potentially they can actually make revenue from their strategy. But then also we also have this on-chain seeded AMM pools across different DEXs, and also I would say also there are some like potentially market maker also adopting the pool-based kind of contract strategy that is on-chain. So yeah, it's a mix of both, but still I would say off-chain relaying or aggregating is still probably more efficient than on-chain order matching.
Yeah, I mean, I have to 100% agree with everything you just said. Until better tech comes out, it allows aggregation to happen on chain. Let's say we move 100% on chain. I don't think that we'll adopt it, right? We want to be as efficient as possible, and that's just not currently possible.
Yeah, for us, the very first version was completely on chain, and it was working very well. But also at the same time, there were only 4 DEXs, so that was very easy. And right now, in one user request, maybe hundreds of pools are being mixed and crunched, and many algorithms can be, or a cocktail of algorithms can run at the same time. And I guess that's obviously the same thing for all aggregators. So it's just not possible on chain because we need prioritization. We need, I would say, asynchronous, I would say, work to be done in order to make this optimized, and that's just not possible. At least on Ethereum. Maybe on other blockchains it's going to be possible, but I don't even see it as a blockchain solution, as an on-chain solution. It can be like a network solution, and there is AirSwap who trying like to create this. It's not really working as it was planned, but at least there is always one player who's going to introduce the first concept, and maybe others will build on top of. And I think this may look like as the future, but there is, yes, obviously no solution yet today.
I guess when we see like a chain with like milliseconds of block production time, maybe yes, no difference from high frequency trading off chain.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Definitely.
Sorry, you about to say something?
No, I said yes, definitely.
Gotcha. Well, cool. So maybe just one last question around competition. Would there ever be an opportunity to capture any fees from DEX aggregation, or is it something where it will be a race to the bottom as everyone looks to offer something that's cheaper than their competitors?
I wouldn't think like adding a fee is the only model for revenue for aggregators. That's definitely the easiest way, and maybe the lazy way, like to add a commission fee whenever you settling or matching an order. But I think there can be other ways, like through even like maybe the DAO, the governance model, and also potentially you have the liquidity side, supply side, you have demand side, and potentially the supply side as market makers are maybe are making arbitraging between different channels, and then they can potentially offer a like a bips from whatever they are trafficking, and then potentially feed it back towards your consumer side as a model and make the whole system flow. I would say yeah. So fee may not be the only answer, but yeah, I agree that's probably widely adopted right now. Yeah.
Same for us. We actually don't charge any fees. So 1inch never charges any fees, whether on web app or our mobile wallet. One thing that we do have is we have our API, right? And that's integrated in some of the bigger platforms out there. And they can add a fee on top of that, and they collect 100% of it. So we're allowing others to monetize using our API. That's been our business model. We obviously had something that we called spread surplus, and 100% of that goes back to the community. It's not something that we decide, but a DAO decides what happens with the spread surplus. That was one of the business models that we came up with, and we embraced it, and the community loved it. And now, again, they get to be rewarded from that. But I do agree that there are other business models to look into. We're actively exploring how we can, collaborate with others and also keep the project sustainable.
Yeah, so we took a different approach in terms of monetization. So we decided to share partner fees and not have 100% goes to the partners, and that worked very well so far. And the idea is to prove that monetization can happen even in DeFi. Then how it will evolve, I think. It should evolve, obviously, especially in a community play. That's we're not there yet. And I think for aggregators, it's not just about building the aggregation protocol, but also building other DEXs. That's what we see with 1inch and 0x. And also we're working on ParaSwap pool, which is this on-chain OTC trading, I would say, platform that's also you guys have built, that also can have its own monetization. So I think DEX aggregators, you can see them like search engines, where they can have like the main search engine that doesn't generate fees directly, like a Google, for instance, but it can generate fees on side project or side product, sorry, that are possible only because this aggregation system exists.
Gotcha. And I guess running into the end of the panel here, just like to ask, like, what are you most excited about that's on your roadmap, or about maybe this DEX aggregation as a whole? Just kind of like lightning round real quick.
Yeah. So first of all, like, we're expanding to more chains. So like, we're really seeing this user adoption that is happening. Like when I do like the growth review for Matcha, I'm like, I'm trying to analyze why people are coming here. But actually, there is no like really spike, but like actually just steadily growing. So I think we're seeing this adoption in terms of like generally DeFi and DEX users. That's definitely exciting. Other than that, I'm seeing like we're going deep in terms of like market making and also trading, like also like learning a lot of like TradFi knowledge as well with our partners. So that's also very exciting.
Yes, just rate of growth. Every time I check Dune Analytics, it's like 100K new users. And I'm like, wow, this is incredible. We're growing so fast. Either that or the trading volumes, right? We go from like 50 to 60 to 70, 75. I can even keep up with the marketing team. They're just like new logos, shiny new dollar signs everywhere, how much we're processing, and it's just insane. So I'm excited to see 1inch plugged into even more projects, right? I want our API to be there. Again, we're not trying to be the only provider, but we do believe in this model of aggregate the aggregators, right? So we think that we should be alongside everyone else and give the user a fair chance to pick the best trade. And yeah, I think obviously what we're doing on the institutional side is also incredibly exciting. We think that that's where a lot of the action is happening, and we need to be there as first movers.
In general, very excited about the traction that aggregators have been seeing. Remember, 2 years ago, it was hard to pitch an aggregator to either, I would say, the investor community or also in general to many users, because it was a hard sell. And for us, maybe builders of aggregators, it was very obvious for us that this is the rational way to trade on chain. And I'm very happy to see all aggregators getting this huge traction. This weekend, for instance, we've seen a growth in our volume, and we don't even know why. It's just that the market is valuing finally the aggregators, because I think is the best way to trade on chain.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.